Okay, I see that we're sold out almost. There are a few seats in the front available, and for the rest, yeah. It's a challenger room, ladies and gentlemen, where we challenge the status quo. And I would really love to, I saw it already on Twitter that you were inviting him to be here. Well, he is here for you. He's going to tell a new project that they're working on. Please give him a warm applause. Eddie Opara, partner at Pentagram. Eddie, the floor is yours.
Is this on? Is this on? This is working? Okay, great. Hi, my name's Eddie Opara. I'm a partner at Pentagram. I'm actually based in the New York office. There's one thing I want to talk to you about Pentagram. We are very, you could say, very old within the area of design. We're 43 years old. We are very much generalists in regards to graphic design and architecture and also product design, but we're very much known for our graphic design work. And that's one of the things about this particular conversation that we're going to have today. I am a graphic designer. I might bore you to death. It's going to be slightly different than what you've been listening to before. But one of the things that I also am is I'm an absolute tinkerer. And the reason, the term tinkerer means that I just like mucking around. I like mucking around with so many different things. And the tinkerer is the act of attempting to repair or make something work. And that's one of the things about me. But one of the things I would like to find out about you is that, are you a tinkerer? The whole aspect of this area is that I don't really think that one should actually just stay within the bounds of of your profession. You should sort of stretch those particular ideals. The whole idea is that you're a person that moves from place to place, a person that moves from things to things, and a person that moves from person to person. And that's the aspect of this particular conversation they're going to have. And I believe in the aspects of diversity within the aspects of work. We are known at Pentagram for very big things, the redevelopment and redesign of Windows, redesign now of Verizon, you name it, we've basically done pretty much everything. But that's not the conversation I want to have today. I want to talk about the idea of moving from atoms to bits and then back again. And so the project that I'm going to talk about has got nothing, in a sense, to do with, marketing to a certain degree. That the whole point of it was actually to be an antithesis of marketing, to actually create a different kind of attraction to other people. This is a diagram of a building in Bangkok called Mahanakhon. Mahanakhon means big city, and it's the tallest building that's being constructed in Bangkok right now. As you can see, it's this, I don't know how, that tall sort of building that looks like it's pixelated, and it actually is pixelated in real life. But the conversation I want to have is in this particular corner over here, there's a building called the Cube. And our idea here for the Cube was that it's a block long and 7 stories high, and it has a screen that's applied to it, the whole facade. And the idea here is that you walk into the screen. So the factor here is that immediately you're like, you know what, I'm going to apply advertising onto this screen. No, that wasn't the deal. The whole aspect here from the architect's standpoint and the owner's standpoint was to change that premise of what is marketable. Can we have advertising as one little part of it? Can we have the aspects of something which is digitally orientated as one part of it and attracts people, and then something which is culturally centered as well? And so we came up with these particular values, which are really key in regards to design in this sort of transitional point that we are with the digital world. Be creative, be iconic, be diverse, be responsive, be adaptive, and incredibly, the main thing is be smart. So this system is incredibly smart. So one of the major challenges is that we had was this idea of the screen. It's not one big whole screen. It's actually made of different screens that we call cassettes. And we had to develop a sort of framework for these cassettes and plug in our assets within that. And this is the logo developed by another New York office called 2x4. And we had to utilize that particular brand for what we're dealing with for the screen, so we generated an entirely different kind of construct. We took that typography and transformed it into the actual cassette structure by developing a new font called Accurate Mono. And we also redeveloped that structure to be a little bit more rectilinear. And so by doing that, we had sort of extended the whole aspects of this particular brand into an entirely different sort of digital format, which is something that people should understand. A lot of times, a lot of people just take one physical brand and put it and chuck it into a digital brand, and it's exactly the same in a sense of typography or imagery. And that's not right. It should actually exist in an entirely different kind of construct. And so we also had to develop it in a sort of nocturnal structure, look at the sense of scale, because remember, this is 7 stories high and a block long. We also created the aspect of being 3-dimensional, so at night, it actually converts itself to a dimensional font and actually is outlined. One of the aspects that we also looked at was the idea of programming. The idea that there's this sense of passive to passive interaction to interaction. So the whole idea is that if you want something right now in the physical realm to be, experiential, don't just jump in and say, oh, let's have people interact with this thing automatically. No, think about the process of being passive, meaning that you're showing things in an ambient type of way and you're just relaying it. Passive interaction is that it's that sort of smart proposition between passive and interaction where you're getting the computer to actually understand data and then relay it to a user so they can interact with that automatically. And then they have the aspects of interaction within that particular guise. So what we looked at was this idea of pedestrian viewers, people walking past or in their cars looking at the screen. That's what normally happens in Times Square and all that kind of stuff. But then we also looked at the idea of time and scheduling time with the aspects of transportation. So the idea is that certain subway systems, the subway is right next to the actual screen, and so what would happen at certain times of day, we would actually relay information very specifically to those particular audiences at that moment in time. So that's a specific aspect that people have lost. They've lost this whole idea of time. They sort of exist in this sort of zero time structure. We've brought that back. And then we also have this sort of gestural interaction with the pedestrian aspect. So as I said, you can walk into the screen, but once you walk into the screen, you can actually go into this sort of area where there's 20 different touch screens, and then you can actually readjust the screen for yourself. So what will happen, and we haven't finished this bit, is that you can walk into the screen, you can actually adjust the screen and what's being shown, and then you're given a particular time to come back with your friends to see what you have done. And that is also a very interesting construct. And so we also wanted to create these aspects of themes. The thematic approach when it comes down to digital experiences today is thematic. And so is thematic, but also not showing one theme, but multiple themes. Maybe all at once, which is kind of crazy, well, I'll show you that. But then at certain times within the day and over the weeks and over the months and over the years. So we had different ones. So how do we sort of create these themes and place them onto the interface? Well, we had different particular locations for those particular aspects. There's one other thing that we also added is that this is a financial district of Bangkok called Siloam. So we wanted to make sure that there was financial information going on at certain times around the world. And so it's like a different window into the world that you can actually see. We subdivided it up within the particular cassettes, as you can see. And then we created this sort of interface structure, this sort of main interface structure that you would see on a daily basis at different times of day that you can actually transition on and then actually explode into more information over the course of time, and also at night. So the daytime planning program is that we created these animatics. We always do tests upon tests upon tests of prototypes to define exactly how people are going to be affected by what we're actually showing. And at certain times, you can actually show advertising due to the fact that our client was like, if I'm going to give you millions of dollars to do this, I need to get some money back. So there was that particular sense. But the whole idea of controlling that advertising was very clearly stated. And it was great that you can actually adjust the advertising if you wanted to. That was another interesting thing. So at night, this is the proposition that actual will be going on. And so this is the sort of interface that you would have. So this is Mahanakan, the tower in the background, and the cube screen in front. We just actually dealt it, put it up. It's actually dealing with a brand new system from a company called Daihan in Korea, which actually uses an incredibly amazing system that nobody actually has. This is the only screen in the world that has it, and it's pretty amazing. One other thing is, you see this this area where it has the camera icon? That's for Instagram. Thai people are the largest Instagrammers in the world. And so we also looked at that from a cultural standpoint in regards to allowing them to upload imagery that, again, they could come back and see it at a larger scale for themselves. So we want to attract a ton of people to this particular experience. Let me just go through it. So this is the day. And this is it working. And that entrance area here is now being built. So you actually walk through this sort of visualizer that is connected to the Vogue bar at the top of the actual building. The building only has 6 companies in it. Vogue, for the Vogue bar, a very high-end restaurant, and then Dunin de Lucas, which is a US-based store at the bottom, 3 of them. But the whole aspect is to redefine what you can actually utilize with major digital screens around the world. They don't have to be just advertising every single day of the week. That is very clear. This is night. This is in some night shots, but I'll be showing some other things. So this is an example of the audio sequence when you go into the Vogue bar. The Vogue bar is a sort of cafe restaurant at the top, and it always has a sort of 24-hour DJ. And so what we wanted to do is sync the idea of what the DJ is playing to the entranceway. So again, another area that we wanted to sort of talk about was the idea of how do you start the day with a screen? Do you just plug in an advert? Do you just plug in whatever? No, we wanted to start and end the day with something that starts our day and ends our day, with the idea of the sun and the idea of the moon. And what we did is we took that sense of passive interaction and we connected it to the sun and the angle of the sun. And it basically shows the sun rising and setting at certain times of the day. And at the end, I'll show you an Instagram of somebody actually taking a photograph of that. So the idea here is to re-engage oneself with the environment and the world around us. You know, that is an important factor. This is all programmatic. So the factor here again is that we can actually adjust the shape and sizes of these particular polygons for particular users. They can go in, they can adjust it, they can bring all their friends, and you will see what their creations actually are. So it's an entirely new kind of construct. Okay, so this is it actually working. This is just a test because it's we were just doing certain tests in the day, and it's absolutely glorious. It's bloody enormous. I'll just show you a video of the piece. different applications from different designers or maybe even artists. But the whole approach is that there's one major thing, that your user can actually adjust what you have created and also apply their own items. And we want to sort of analyze that. We're going to actually put analytics on the back end of that to understand exactly what is being created. So in a sense, it's an entirely new kind of way of thinking about experiences. So this is the Instagram that one of my designers actually found on Instagram. And we were truly blown away that they were taking the photograph at the same time that the sun is actually, I think it's actually setting. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Well, I think one thing is proof that you proved here today, is that if you are a challenger and you think out of the box, that you can have the attention span that goes beyond the goldfish.
Yeah,
because do you have any idea how long people will be interacting or looking at the screen? It might be...
It might be seconds, it might be hours. We actually saw people just standing there for minutes upon end, upon end, upon end.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is working really well. But the whole factor is that the screen, we believe, if we apply a sense of smartness to it, that we can do anything with this type of system, you know, because it actually is all programmatic on the back end rather than just playing some video. But the reason why I wanted to sort of show this today is that, yes, you know, Pentagrams are incredibly well known for all the types of brands that we've sort of generated and will over the course of time. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to show something that can be slightly different towards rethinking the attitude of what identity actually is and giving identity to this particular complex.
And taking it beyond the shouting way of advertising again. What will be your next stop? Dubai? Singapore, Shanghai?
I'm going to take a break for now. A couple of things that we're working on at Pentagram in New York are the Internet of Things. So we're connecting. We've just recently connected with SOM, one of the largest architectural firms in the world, with a project called PS62, which is a net zero school. A net zero school means that it generates its own energy and it consumes its own energy. So it's totally zero based on energy, which is kind of strange. But what we're trying to do is connect the energy mass that is utilized within the school and visualize it for little kids from kindergarten to the age of 12. And we've done it, and then we've gamified it. So they can actually learn how to save on energy and recycling and all kinds of things.
Amazing. Are there questions? Because I might...
I don't think there will be.
No? Why? But if you say that, I want to tap into that. This is possible on any digital screen out of home, but it's also thinking about the Internet of Things. Yes. We're going to go to 50 billion connected devices.
Exactly.
So
I think the Internet of Things is just starting. It may hopefully change its name to something else. But the factor here is that you know, the idea of what interface really means to people is totally changed.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have to think about that. This, in a sense, could be seen as an Internet of Things as well, because it's all connected to the cloud structures and interactions. And so we have to now think away from the aspects of the browser, or what you can see on your phone, to other objects and mechanisms to approach different experiences and change our way of life.
Could be anything that can display digital data.
Exactly.
And amazing. So after your break, you will be mastering IoT? Yeah? I hope so.
Okay.
Give him a warm applause. Thank you very much, Eddie. Thank you. Interesting to see what you can all do and that you can take so many things to the next level. Eddie mentioned IoT, but your life will be dominated more and more by screens, I think.